the most underrated bodybuilder of all time.
He's a machine, and he's a huge guy. I mean, when you stand next to him, look at the width of his shoulders and this latissimus development. I always just call him, instead of calling him Paul, I just call him, hey, monster. He's just so huge, you know, his arms and everything.
He was gigantic.
He made Dorian Yates look small. He made Ronnie Coleman look small.
The sky's the limit for me right now in terms of how big I can get. I'm not putting any barriers in how big I am going to get.
Welcome back to Unfiltered with Paul Dillett.
Yes, sir. We're back for another
What a week it's been. What a week it's been.
Wow.
Lots of stuff going on.
Absolutely.
Lots to cover on this episode. So many different places that we could start. First thing, I think thank you to everybody that's watched the other two episodes and all the comments coming in about all the things that Paul's been able to share. I know everybody's been excited to hear from Paul. So many years removed from the stage. There's been a lot of requests for stories, workouts, so many different things. I think we should start there and then kind of like...
I think, you know what? I'm overwhelmed with gratitude as to the amount of views that we've been getting on our podcast.
Incredible.
That we just
Incredible.
You know, so I just want to say thank you to everyone. You know, it is appreciated, and it's just going to get better. I'm going to continue to talk about 90s bodybuilding.
And I think that's the most important thing. Like the goal is to share some of the stories that back then were only in magazines when they came out.
Absolutely.
And so many things didn't come out.
Man, listen, it's like we said, it's so different today from when I was competing because we didn't have social media. So the only time you'd see or hear anything was just in the magazine, and you were limited with what you hear in the magazine because there's only room for so much, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Gives us the opportunity just to lay it all out.
Absolutely. Let's go back to we're again 4 weeks out from the Olympia, or 5 weeks.
I think it was like 5 weeks.
Let's go back to the 90s, you know, really quick. Any crazy situations that you want to share about your prep during, you know, your pre-contest prep to the Olympia, or any of your preps, anything that would have never made it to a magazine?
Oh, hell yeah, man. There's so much. I never forget one time getting ready for the Olympia, and about 4 or 5 weeks out, I knew I was in shape already. I looked pretty damn good. And I don't know what got into me. I was living in Marina Del Rey, and there was a shopping plaza just across from where I lived. And they had a place called Lisa's Cookies.
Okay.
Man. So I tell myself, you know, I pinch my skin, and I feel like, hey, you know what? I'm ready. So I decide, this is the day I'm going to go. It wasn't time for a cheat meal. No, it was time to get my ass in the gym and go do what I do. But I decide to drive over to Lisa's Cookies, and I'm living in Marina Del Rey at the time. And I said, tell myself, I'm going to go, I'm going to have, I think I can afford to have 2 cookies.
2 cookies.
And I love me some oatmeal cookies. So I got there, and I went in, and these cookies smell so damn good. I don't usually eat chocolate chip, but I decide to have 1 oatmeal and 1 chocolate chip. I went outside and sat down instead of getting in my car and got my ass to the gym, eat my 2 cookies and go about my business. Well, no. I decided to sit outside right at the store. Well, those 2 cookies were inhaled. So I went back inside, and I ended up buying 4.
4 more or 2 more? 4 more.
4.
So now we're at 6.
Yes. So
Okay.
I had 2 oatmeals and 2 chocolate chips. And I tell myself, that's it. That's it. You know, I in my head, well, I know I'm messing up right now. But, you know, I'm in shape. I'm going to go do cardio. I'll be okay. Did the same stupid thing again. Went and sat outside. Those were gone. And someone listening to this might think, he's full of shit. No chance, my friend. This is facts. Well, I went back in. You know, I'm no quitter. So I went back in, and now I ordered the exact same amount. Now we're up to 6. And because I ordered so many, guess what? They threw in 2 more.
Oh, bonus.
Oh, yeah. Long story short, I end up eating 12 cookies.
Oh, man.
And we're not talking these little tiny things. We're talking these big,
Like the big ones.
the big one. And at this point, I'm sitting out there eating these cookies and literally have tears in my eyes because I'm telling myself, I know I fucked up. I'm like, but I can't stop eating it.
Shit.
I have my bottle of water beside me. It wasn't big enough. So once I finished eating them and I'm freaking out in my head, there was a grocery store just right there. So I went there to buy myself a 2 liter of water. Because I'm thinking, oh, shit, I need to flush this out of my system. And I'm freaking out in my head because I'm like, oh, my God, I just blew it. I blew it. And I'm driving to the gym, and I'm just cursing the shit out of myself. How could you be so stupid? How could you be so dumb? Got to the gym. I didn't even do any weights. I just went straight to the treadmill. I did 1 hour and about 45 minutes of cardio
Wow.
in one session. My clothes, I was soaked from head to toe, even my shoes.
Wow.
You know, it's just crazy shit that you do when you're dieting, you know, and you're depriving yourself. And the worst thing you can do is, I love sweets. Some guys love salt. I love sweet. And tasting that sweet, it was like, I was like a junkie.
Wow.
I couldn't stop, you know? So that's just one of the crazy things that happened to me.
So, like, now looking back, like, how far back did it set you?
To be honest, I don't even think it set me back because I got up the next day and I was so vascular.
Oh.
So, I mean, I freaked myself out because I know I completely messed up. You know, that's a lot of goddamn cookies to eat. You know, but you know, I was very strict with my diet, and you know, 4 or 5 weeks out, usually from a show, I'm usually pretty much there, and just coasting in. So luckily, I had that on my side, and again, like I said, cardio doesn't bother me. You know, some guys hate cardio. I love cardio. It didn't make me lose any size, so that was a blessing for me. But man, that was one evening that to this day I can still remember it like it was yesterday.
Well, I know you painted that picture. It's like, I'm sure everybody listening was right there with you.
Oh hell yeah, man! I'm sure anyone who's ever competed and died have a story like this where they know, man, you just fucked up, and you know.
And like, now looking back, you know, how often do you think about those moments where you had that decision and you were like, the cookie one? Like, how many more moments were there like that that you said no, I'm not going to do it, you know?
Man, it was a lot of moments, man. You know,
like, how much temptation at all times do you, again, competing at the highest level? We're not talking about recreational, like you just want to be in shape. We're talking about, you know, one of the best in the world, competing at the highest level, and you've got to like be on top of everything that you're doing.
There was a lot of temptation. I have another story. I remember one night I came home from the gym. I had my George Foreman.
Okay.
Some people today don't even know what the hell that is, but I had my George Foreman, and I'm making my rice to eat my boring ass chicken and rice, and for some reason, this night, I was just so hungry and irritated, just pure irritation, and the rice just couldn't seem to cook fast enough. You know, I went in the kitchen, I checked the rice, and I'm like, what the fuck, this rice? this rice is not cooking. And in my head, I thought this rice has been cooking for an hour, you know? So like a dumb, ignorant fool, what do? I'm so angry, I take the whole pot and just slam it against the wall, rice everywhere. it's, it's just, and again, I'm sure anyone else watching this can relate and said, I've had those moments, where you just lose your mind and you just get so ignorant. There's no one there. So there's no one for you to blame for anything. It's just you're so damn hungry. You want your food to cook fast and it's not cooking fast enough.
I think it's such an important segue because based on some of the feedback that we've gotten, I know where some of the comments are going to go. And just really quick, let's kind of like touch on the myths that some people still have, even though there's so much information on supplements and performance enhancing supplements. None of those things can make you eat the food. None of those things can make you go to the gym, yet people use that as the sole reason for why an athlete of your caliber gets to their place. And I'm sure that's going to be one of those moments that they want to jump on, but I always feel like they miss the point.
Listen, there's no substitute for hard work, sacrifice, dedication, just the will, to want to be number one. There's no substitute. I don't care there's nothing you can take. That's just mental. That's just in here. That's in your head. That's you have to want it so bad that you get up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym to go do an hour of cardio. No, what are you gonna take that's gonna help that? There's nothing that's gonna do that. So I think people who are haters want to believe that it's something you take. There's no such thing. There are things that can enhance things, but it can't change your mindset. You have to have that mindset, the mindset of a champion, that you want to win.
We see it in other sports where other athletes are accused of using supplements to enhance their performance, but one of my arguments has always been like, you still need a certain amount of skill to hit a ball with a bat. It doesn't matter what you're taking, right? The whatever sport you're practicing still requires skill and practice. No supplement is going to give you the desire to do it or enhance your skill. Making you stronger, helping you recover is a completely different thing, but you still have to do the thing.
You got to put the work in. Like you said, there might be things that can enhance your recovery time. Yes, absolutely. But it's not, you can't take something and just wake up the next day and look, the way a professional athlete looks,
right,
or how skilled he or she may be. People need to stop saying this and start recognizing that, no, they work their asses off. I don't care what they take. If it was that simple, then everyone would be playing football, basketball, or being a professional bodybuilder, whatever, tennis, and being the best there is. It doesn't work. How many people, I wonder if the people realize how many people there is every year that try to become a professional athlete, and how many make it. The chances of becoming that and becoming a successful one, you have more chance of getting hit by lightning.
Absolutely.
So therefore, if there was something you could take, then none of us would be special.
Right.
That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us so special. But it's that will. It's the drive that you have to wanting to be one of the best.
We opened talking about like the magazines back in the day. Anytime those pictures were in the magazine, right? Like those were some epic photo shoots. Were you guys, or let's just talk about you, were you timing those to doing them post-show? Were you doing any photo shoots pre-show? Like how was your shoot schedule? Like if you were going to do something in Flex or Muscle and Fitness, how did you time that?
Well, it depends. It depends on the shoot that you're doing, because there were some shoots that didn't require you to be at your best.
Okay.
So there were some shoots that it was okay to do it in off-season mode, but predominantly most of the shoots would happen, pre-contest. Like 4 weeks out from a show, 5 weeks out, that then you start doing shoots, and after the show.
And did you end up doing a lot of shoots like after a show, like when you were at your very best, like some of those Chris Lunn ones?
A lot of the Chris Lund's photos were done before the shows, and here's the thing with Chris Lund, you can't fake the shoot. You have to lift the same poundage on his shoot.
No fake weights.
No fake weight. It has to be, because you can't capture what he captured pretending, you're curling 100-pound or 80-pound dumbbell or whatever the hell you're doing. He wants blood and guts. He wants the real deal, and that's why he is perhaps the best ever to do it. And his photos look incredible, and you see the guys and the veins are popping, and I mean that's just real. It's not pretend. We didn't have any Photoshop.
Right.
What you see is what it was. There's nothing to enhance muscularity or size. It's just raw. That's reality. Yeah, he might have taken 100, 200 shots, and out of that, he'll get 5 or 6, 10 incredible shots that you've never seen before.
And how much influence did the Weiders have on what that looked like?
Oh, they had all the influence. What Joe says go. Joe's the boss.
What was your relationship with Joe like?
I had an amazing relationship with Joe. I was very fortunate that I'm from Montreal, Canada, and the Weiders are from Montreal, Canada. And when I got to LA, and I was introduced to Joe by the late Winston Roberts, from Montreal also. And I can remember right now like it was yesterday when I first met Joe. And I mean, my God, for me, when I first met Joe Weider, because from a boy, I'm seeing this figure, with the
Yeah.
I mean, and then here I am, this kid from Montreal, and I'm sitting in Joe Weider's office, and I can't actually believe that this is happening. I'm meeting Joe Weider, and he asked me to take off my shirt, so I'm wearing my tank top, take off the shirt, and his eyes popped open, and he started going crazy. He goes, do a lat spread, do a double bicep, do a one. He was like a kid in a candy store. I remember Jim Chatto was the art director at the time, and Tom was the editor for the magazines, and Peter McGuff and all the guys. He must have called like 5, 6 people in the office. He told me, you gotta come in here, you gotta see this kid. He's amazing. He's incredible. I mean, and for me, I'm just thinking, oh my God, holy shit, Joe Weider actually thinks I'm good.
Wow.
Where I have no confidence. I don't know if I'm good or not, but for me, he was absolutely amazing. Without him, I'd have never gotten any. No, nothing would have happened. All the success that I have today, I still have to contribute that towards him, because if I didn't met him, I wouldn't have become one of the best bodybuilders in the world, and then it has opened up so many other doors and opportunities. So maybe it might have happened, but we'll never know, because it didn't happen without his blessing, and it wasn't just like he says, oh, you were great. Joe actually helped. I'm a kid. When the first time I went to California, I didn't know where I was going to stay. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had $2,500 in my pocket, and I'm staying at the Marina Pacific Hotel, which is a very famous hotel for back in the day. That's where all the bodybuilders from around the world would come and stay at this hotel. And my $2,500 is dwindling real fast. And I met Joe Weider. And after all the hoopla and all the other guys left the office, I'm sitting there, and he says to me, so I guess you want some money. And I'm thinking, I don't know. I don't have, I didn't go there thinking anything other than just having the opportunity to meet Joe Weider. And he says to me, okay, I'm going to give you $2,500. And in my head, I'm thinking, you got to remember, this is back in the early 90s. I'm thinking $2,500. So I said it out loud. I said, $2,500? And he thought that I was saying, that's it. So he said, okay, I'll give you $3,500 a month. I'm thinking he's going to give me, just a one time. And I was so happy. I was so ecstatic. But he didn't realize that I was just shocked that he was giving me a dime.
Anything, right?
Anything, because my little chump change is dwindling fast.
Wow.
So I'm like, oh my God, $3,500 a month. I think I'm rich. I'm like,
you made it.
Hell yeah. I'm like, oh man, so I'm taking the boys out for lunch, man. I mean, and he says to me, if you turn pro, I'll give you $5,000. Yeah. That's another story. I'm going to touch on that one.
All right. But it's 2025, and to be honest, like, it's probably the first time I hear the Weider's name in a while.
Yeah.
There was something Lee Haney said this week on his Instagram that I think we should probably touch on, and it has a lot to do with paying homage to old school bodybuilding and the greats of back in the day, and obviously that doesn't go without saying that without Weider none of it happens. But he touched on it this week, and I wanted to get your thoughts on what he said and what your feeling is about the whole situation.
Man, I talk about bodybuilders who I admired and the physiques that I admired, and talk about the first time I met Flex Wheeler, and to this day he's still the physique that I admired the most. But the guy who I loved, as much as I admired Gary Stratham and all these guys, for me it was Lee Haney. And I remember the first time I met Lee Haney as a kid in Montreal, I felt like I met God. He came to guest pose at a show there, and I was the kid backstage. I got to help him, pump up. Man, but this man he just treated me like, wow, it's so amazing. It was like, by this time he's already won a couple Mr. Olympia, and he just made me felt so comfortable, and like, he didn't act like he was anything special. He was just the nicest person I've ever met, and for me, like I said, he just stood out for me he's my GOAT. I think he's the greatest of all time. Some people may disagree, but everyone can agree to disagree, pick who they choose. But he's my GOAT. And when I heard him say, someone asked a young bodybuilder, do you know who the 8-time Mr. Olympia is? And the kid said no. And he goes, he's standing, this is him right here. This is Lee Haney. And this kid had no clue who Lee Haney was. And I'm like, that makes me sad. Because without people like Lee Haney, I'm not doing this.
Right.
Without the Weider, there is no bodybuilding. But without the Lee Haneys, without the Mike Christian, the Samir Bannout, Rich Gaspari. Rich Gaspari was, I don't know if people realize this, that's who was the first man to bring striated glutes to bodybuilding. So I see today, everyone talks about all the bodybuilders of today, which is great. But you can't forget these guys from the past. There's some Albert Beckles.
Oh,
come on, Robbie Robinson. I mean,
still going.
We can go down the line. Tom Platz. I mean, the Golden Eagle. I mean, how do you forget people like that? You can't. I feel like I wish the people that runs bodybuilding would do something so that the young bodybuilders of today would have respect for the bodybuilders of the past, because without the bodybuilders of the past, they don't exist. And I find today, the bodybuilders of today, I don't think they have any respect for any of the bodybuilders of the past. There might be one or two guys who are competing today who will have that respect, but I'd say for the most part, 80%, 90% of them, they don't even know who we are.
Do you find that in other sports, the athletes have more respect and more appreciation for the players before them than the bodybuilders do for the ones that came before them?
Absolutely. Because in football, basketball, tennis, or any of these sports, soccer, you still know who Pelé is. You'll know who Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Wilt Chamberlain. In football, you can forget sweetness, Walter Payton, you know, Barry Sanders. I mean, we can keep going down the line where people know them. But I can go down the line of bodybuilders. I can name 30, 40 bodybuilders that people today would be like, who? So it's the people that are running the sport who, for me, I look and say, wow, that's our history. How do you just let that dwindle away? You know, like I said, I was sad to hear Lee Haney say that because I put him up on such a pedestal.
Right. Of all people, it's not like it can go unknown that who won the Olympia 8 times in a row, right? Like nobody dismisses Arnold. But I'd say even Ronnie doesn't get talked about as much, right? With the level of accomplishment. Do you think, I mean, considering that Lee promotes his show and is still very much involved in bodybuilding, do you think that as a federation, there should be more done to celebrate all of the athletes that help build what it is today?
100%. You know, I remember, I tell people, I find today guys will do one show a year and they're like, oh, I can't do another show. And I'm thinking, what are you talking about? I mean, back in the day, we'd do the Mr. Olympia and we'd go on the Grand Prix tour and do 7 shows in 12 days. After the Arnold Classic, again, same thing. We'd go to Europe and there'd be 4 Grand Prix where, imagine in 12 days, you're going to 7 different countries. You know, that's helping to build the sport that a lot of guys and girls are enjoying the fruits of our labor. And I was able to enjoy the fruits of those labor from people like the Lee Haneys, the Gasparis, the Mike Christian, the Barry DeMay, you know, the Tom Platz. There's so many of these incredible guys that we can talk about. Bob Paris. People talk about physiques, and I'm like, have you heard of Bob Paris?
Right.
You know, talk about physique. You know, so there's just so many incredible guys, and again, it goes back to maybe if the people that run the sport would show some homage, then maybe the young guys today would have some respect.
It's important to know where you came from so that you know where you're going. And I mean, none of the things that are happening to the amount of shows, the amount of money being made at shows doesn't happen without everything that you guys did. So to dismiss it or not keep it at the forefront, right, is something that should probably be looked at.
It's always nice to know your history.
Absolutely.
It's always nice to know where this all came from. It didn't just happen overnight. And maybe if the powers that be showed that some respect to the guys from the past, like I said, then maybe the guys today, they would appreciate it because they just don't know. Some of them, they just, you know, there's nothing for them to know because no one is putting anything out. We don't have the magazines anymore, you know. A lot of the guys, they're not into social media, so you don't hear anything about them.
Speaking of the past, there's so much new information, new technology, new styles of doing things. There's so much more quote unquote research now that wasn't available back then yet. We talked about this in the last episode. The quality of muscle in the 80s and the 90s seemed to be far superior. And guys were not in the gym thinking about overtraining or, you know, the most effective way to create better range of motion. It seems that they were going into the gym to just put in work.
Man, talk about physique and training. Serge Nubir, one of the greatest physiques of all time. I mean, this man would literally train 7-8 hours a day. And anyone who knows Serge, they'll tell you, yes, it's true. Serge would go to the gym, and he would be in the gym all day. I mean, and if you don't know who he is, look him up. Serge Nubert. I mean, all these new techniques and all these science that I'm hearing about, I'm like, back in the day, guys just went in the gym and pumped iron. That's why it's called pumping iron. There was no lifting tires, beating up a rope, or like I said, or taking a hammer, beating up a tire that did nothing to you. Yeah, it's like, I don't, again, maybe it works. I don't know. I just know you look at the physiques, you look at the condition that these guys got in. I'm sorry, love it or hate it or disagree with me. No one today get into that condition. No one. You can look at every single guys from back in the day and go, no, they're all in shape. You might go to the Olympia today and say, okay, there was 2 or 3 guys that you go, yeah, their condition was great. Back then, you looked and every single guy is in shape. I mean, every single guy. There was no such thing as someone out of shape. Nope. It didn't exist,
You were talking about Serge, and it makes me wonder, this day and age, 2025, if someone was working out for 7 hours, the amount of hate that they would get, the amount of negative comments that they would get from people that are not in the gym, putting in 7 hours of work, from people that do not have the same caliber of physique. And it seems like we live in a time where it's okay to criticize something that you don't understand or something that isn't necessarily what you would do, instead of looking at, well, what does the work say? What is the, in bodybuilding, it's like, well, what does the physique say?
Yeah, it's what works for you. Maybe that's what worked for him. Dorian would say he would do half an hour of cardio a day. That worked for him. It didn't work for me, but it doesn't mean that his way is the right way or my way is the wrong way. It's just what worked for me. It's what worked for him. So I don't understand why everyone today, seem like an asshole, that I should have an opinion. Because, it's like, really? Why can't you just appreciate that? That's what works for him. That's what works for her. Find what works for you and do it. Hell, you know what? Maybe try it. Try it. Don't criticize it. Try it and go, shit, that actually worked. When you're dieting, some guys, Flex Wheeler couldn't eat carbs. He'll tell you, dieting was hard for him because, man, he had to cut his carbs back so much. I, on the other hand, I could eat carbs, and it didn't bother me. So did I try the way he's done it? Yeah, I tried that too. It does work, but I like that's too much suffering.
Right.
But, I just find, like I said, too many opinions, and it's opinions sometimes from people who shouldn't be allowed to have an opinion on this,
subject.
Yes. No. They're like armchair quarterback. Have you done it? Have you done it to this level? So how can you criticize? Or some people, they read it in a book, so they know the theory, but they don't know the practical of how it really and truly works. We weren't reading anything in the books. We'd talk to each other. That was the good thing about back then, We talked to each other. We asked each other, what worked for you, and try to figure out, hey, maybe I should try that too, Like I said, going in the gym and doing your bench press and all these things that we would do back then, I thought it worked amazing, because when you look at the physiques back then, what's the difference between then and now? These guys are fucking huge, man. These guys are monsters. I mean, these guys are, I don't even understand it. When a guy's 5'6" and walk on stage at 285,
it's crazy.
I'm like, God damn.
What was the worst piece of advice you ever got at the gym?
Oh my God, the worst advice I ever got was
that you still went, like you heard it, you were like, I don't know if that's going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway.
the worst advice I ever got is, remember back in the day there was the steroid handbook.
Yes.
Was no one, probably people don't even know what that is, but it's by Dan Duchesne.
Yeah.
Dan Duchesne, you would think he was the guru
Right.
back in the day. He was the first guru. He would experiment on his goddamn self. But the man, if you looked at him, if he was 180 pounds, it'd be a miracle. You would never think he lifted a weight a day in his life. But he wrote the steroid handbook, and he's the guy that everyone used to go to find out what they should do. Well, I went to Dan one day, and I'm getting ready for the North American Championship, and I told him, I said, Dan, I need to get in shape. I need to be in the best shape of my life. I got to turn pro. Well, would you believe this man told me to take between 10 and 15 cider mills a day. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I'm a young kid, and this is Dan Duchesne. This is the man who wrote
The Bible.
Correct. So that's like Moses. You know?
Parting the Red Sea.
You're damn right. So luckily for me, I didn't go up to 10, but I did go up to 6,
Wow.
7 cider mills a day. And within 2 weeks, I looked like the incredible shrinking man.
Wow.
I was like, oh my God, I just fucked up so bad. And I don't know how I got introduced to Chris Aceto. And, you know, Chris tells me to come up to Portland, Maine. And this was 1992. I went up to Portland, Maine, and I lived with Chris for about 6 or 8 weeks. Chris, amazing trainer, nutritionist. The guy's incredible. Chris is, I'm sorry, it doesn't get much better than Chris. And I gotta give props to my guy, Chad Nichols, because those are the only 2 people I've ever worked with my whole career. Not like today, we people jump ship after every show. Nope, it was a sink or swim. And those 2 guys were absolutely amazing. Chris literally brought me back. You know, was able to help me to recover my muscles.
What'd he say? What'd he say when you said, this is what I'm doing?
He says, what the fuck? And like, what were you trying to do? I said, I was trying to get in shape, man. You know? But we would go walking on the beach for cardio. You know, he would go to the gym with me every day. He'd put me on, remember those old Schwinn bikes?
Yes.
Where you move the hand?
Yes.
Oh, man. And then his wife at the time was Laura Craval.
Mm-hmm.
So she would be hooking up all the meals and all the, they made meals that tasted so amazing. So I didn't even feel like I was on a diet. And thanks to Chris, I won the North American Championship. I didn't even get compared to anyone.
Slam dunk.
Yeah. I literally just walked out on stage by myself, do everything by myself. No one was compared to me. It was like, you know, that was all thanks to Chris.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, man, no, the guy is incredible.
That's incredible. What about like workout advice? Like, did any of the guys ever say, you know, stop doing this or add this? And you were like, well, I don't know, but
well, workout advice. Again, I was so lucky that when I got to Venice, I also met Mike Christian, who helped me a lot. You know, that's actually who hooked me up with Charles Glass. So again, Charles was my trainer from start to finish. There was no one else.
There was nobody else.
No, if someone says, "Oh, I help," nope. Again, it just shows the difference from then to now, where we stuck with one trainer because we know that when the show's over, we can sit down and go back to the drawing board and figure out what did we do right, what didn't work, and how to make changes. Where today, people jump ship, like I said, after every show. It's going to take the coach some time to learn your physique. And he or she's not going to learn your physique within one show. It's going to take a couple. So that's why you should pick a coach that you feel comfortable with, someone that you know. and stick with him or stick with her. Give them a chance to learn your physique and stop jumping ship. Have some loyalty to something, you know, and you'd be surprised of how much better you would get.
There's also the time that we live in where even the pros are constantly consuming so much information. And back to the professionalism that we were talking about before, and the drive and the commitment. Is there something to having that amount of tunnel vision where you don't get distracted by what everybody else is doing, that brings something different out of you as a professional athlete?
Stop listening to the noise. You can't focus. Can you focus if we're having a conversation and there's 4 other people talking to us at the same time? What are you listening to? What are you hearing? Do you hear anything? You hear nothing. So therefore, that's why these people are not. A lot of people are not improving, because they need to learn how to block out the noise. Like I said, pick out one coach and stick with him, stick with her. You're gonna have to give him or her at least 2-3 shows, 4 shows. I'm telling you, if he or she's a great coach, you're gonna get better.
Do you think some of the athletes now are thinking that there is an advantage to who they think the coach knows, only because so many people claim politics? Do you think some of the athletes are thinking, if I go with this coach, then I have a better chance?
I say shut the hell up and train. Come at your best. Don't leave it up to the judges to pick you the winner. You make yourself the winner. I've done quite a few shows where I remember in France, in Germany, where I walked out on stage and I was not compared. That just means no matter if the judges have something against me or anything, I was just so good on that day that they had no choice but to give it to me. You know, I would hope that choosing a coach doesn't give you a leg up on stage, because it should be the person who present the best physique on that day. And people need to understand that not because I beat you today or you beat me doesn't mean that I have the better physique or you have the better. It's just on that day I was the better man or you were. That's what it is, because physique can change, you know, within an hour. Depending on our stress level. How stressed are we? How stressed out do we get? Because with stress, you're going to raise your aldosterone level. You raise your aldosterone level and your body starts to secrete, cortisol. That happens, you start retaining water. So many competitors can relate to this, that after a show, they go, oh my God, look at me. A day later. Why? You're calm. You're eating. You're not freaking out. You're not panicking. We are our own worst enemies, competitors. That's why if I could give someone one piece of advice in competing and how to win, get your mind right. Get your mind right. It's a mind game, because you get yourself in the greatest condition of your life and you can fuck it all up backstage, because you start panicking, you start freaking out, you start questioning yourself. Did I do everything right? And no amount of trainer can change that.
After, like, when situations like that happen, there's always critics that go immediately to start commenting and criticizing. So and so was bloated, so and so was holding water, so and so didn't bring their best, not knowing what could potentially be happening backstage and why that's happening. And you're no stranger to criticism and people saying things. It's like we are living through a time where everyone's quick to criticize and say something negative, and there's not enough positivity balancing that out. But everybody has a microphone ready to scream at you and point out your flaws and call you out, and it's become kind of normal for that to happen.
Well, I think any real athlete, any true athlete would never do that, because they know how hard these people work. They know what they are going through. And whether it's bodybuilding, basketball, football, whatever it may be, they know sometimes your mind do play tricks on you, So I think it's okay to give constructive criticism where you say things to better the person, or if that person just wasn't at their best on that day, you can say, look, you know what? He's not at his best today. You know, I've seen him much better. You know, I don't know what happened along the way. I saw him in the gym, or, you know, he looked absolutely amazing. But within that 24 hours or even 6 hours, what happened? Did he get a phone call? Something didn't go, you know, something happened with his family or something. You know, the people who are the harshest critic could never do what these guys are doing. You know, but they're always quick because it's all about clickbaits, right? People are so willing to destroy other people for the stupidest thing, just for views and likes. How stupid is that? Can you do what they're doing? I go to the Olympia and I look at, I don't care if the guys are from the 90s or the guys today. I see incredible athletes on stage. I see guys who work their asses off. Will I be honest if you ask me my opinion? I'm going to say yes. It's, you know, it's just like with Samson. You know how I feel about his physique. But at the same time, I will be honest and say, hey, you know what? He could have lose a couple pounds, and I think then he'd be at. But I'm not going to say anything negative about him. There's no reason to say anything negative. You should always keep it positive, because you don't know how hard that person works. And the words you say about him, sometimes words can cut more harsher than a knife. Simply, I always say it's better to congratulate than to hate. Why can't we critique without putting someone down? There's no reason for me to put anyone down. Of course, I'm so accustomed to people always saying negative things about me. But I tell my wife, my skin is as thick as an alligator back. I don't really give a fuck what people say. Because you could never be me. No chance. You can say whatever you want. Oh, his posing. Oh, his back. Motherfucker, you can't be me. Let's just keep that fucking real. Oh, I have confidence. I was one of the best that ever done it. There'll only be one me. So that's facts. So criticize all you want, because you could never be me, you know? But so many young guys don't have the same attitude that I have, that no matter what you say to me, it doesn't really affect me. I don't let that bother me. I can let it roll off my back. But there are other guys who it can affect them mentally.
Right.
You know?
I think that mindset is very much needed these days. And we hinted in the last episode about you putting out, you know, a program to kind of like pass on all the stuff that you've collected over the years in terms of information about training and prepping and bringing out the best in you. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. You know, I've been in the game for over 40 years. And again, I always say to I say to my wife, I said, after 40 years, I think I've learned maybe a little something.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Not too much.
Not too much, but, you know, I've been at it for so long that I do understand the game. You know, I do know what it takes to become one of the best in the world. You know, I do know what it takes to put on size. I do know what it's like to get in shape. People can say whatever they want, but they can't say, oh, he was never in shape. No, I got in shape. You know, mindset. You know, like I said, for me, so if someone said, what was the best thing you had going for you when you were competing? It was my mind. Because I always tell people, no one can break me. I'm unbreakable. No chance. So that's why no matter all the negative things people say about me, it never bothered me, because my peers never said it. My peers would always say, no, Paul is amazing. You know, and that's what counts to me. It's what my peers would say about me. And that's why there was so much respect for each other, you know, back then. That, you know, we can critique each other and we might feel that, hey, I should have placed above him. But that's just competition. You know, everyone wants to win. Everyone thinks they should win. But we didn't have anything negative to say about each other. We didn't try to crush each other. We want to crush each other on stage.
Right.
And we want you to be at your best. So that way, if I beat you, you can't say anything. And if you beat me, I can man up and say, man, that boy looked amazing today. So that's the things I'm gonna be working on. You know, is for whether it's young cats coming up, you know, or even guys my age who are like, listen, man, you know what? I just need to have that type of mindset, like where someone who's a, you know, no surrender, no retreat, who can mentally handle no matter what bullshit people say about you. It's kind of like, say what you want. It doesn't mean, listen, I don't know you. You don't put food on my table. You don't put a roof over my head. You're not the first face I see in the morning and the last face I see at night. So I don't really give a fuck what you have to say. Keep your shitty ass opinion to your motherfucking self. It's that simple.
So instead of a PDF like everybody else does, this is going to be a community.
Absolutely.
And inside of that community will be all of the workouts, will be all of the mindset stuff that you're going to share.
Yeah.
But all of the people that want to get that dose of Paul Dillett are also going to be able to interact.
Absolutely.
And
it'll be very interactive. And it's for people who like-minded people who want to be a part of something positive and no negativity. Because if you come to me with your bullshit, I don't want it. You can't be a part of it. It's strictly for people who are positive, who wants to be better.
So if you're interested in figuring out how Paul got 24-inch arms, 24-inch calves, and a 30-inch waist, he's going to be putting out all the stuff, not holding anything back, and you're going to be able to ask questions.
Absolutely.
Engage with other people that are in this program, and we're going to have links to all of this in the description, and you're going to be able to have access to that immediately as soon as you enroll in this program.
100%. They'll also be able to see photos never before seen. You know, because now I have access to some of the Weider archives of photos that I've never even seen.
Amazing.
You know, so
amazing.
Yeah.
What's next for you before you head out to the Olympia? What do you got going on?
Well, we have a massive concert coming up next week at the Miami Heat Arena. You know, we have over 15 some of the top Latin artists that's going to be performing. So that's what's coming up next. We have quite a bit of concerts coming up because I don't know if people don't realize that there's so many other things that we do besides running, you know, our fitness shows. The fitness shows, I do it because it's my legacy, and my wife supports me for doing this because she knows how important it is to me. Because anything else I do, it'll never be a legacy. But bodybuilding is my legacy. Without bodybuilding, none of this happened. Nothing I do happened without it. So no regrets. If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't change a thing. I love my career. I traveled the world. I got to meet so many people. I did something that I loved as a boy, and I got paid for it. And I meet people from around the world who admired, and it's so weird that someone wants to pay you just to show up and show your physique. I'm so appreciative and so humbled at that, you know. So, you know, that's where I'm at right now. And there's one topic, man, that I can't not touch on. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
You know?
So we've had a pretty rough week in the United States this week.
Yeah.
And I think that not only has it impacted the United States, but it's obviously been felt all over the world, and it's definitely made people that speak kind of reflect on the things that they should be saying and could be saying, and the consequences of saying what's on your mind.
Well, you know, how sad is it when people are celebrating the assassination of a young boy? Because to me, he's a boy. I'm 60 years old. He's 31. Could be my son. How do you celebrate seeing that happen? Like, what kind of animal are you? Like, where are we at in life now where we celebrate murder? We laugh, we joke. So when people are celebrating, do you ever forget about Charlie and whether you agree or disagree? He's only 31 years old. His life had barely begun. And all this just because of an opinion, because you disagree with someone, you think it's okay to murder them. And it's not just the person who done it, but it's all the people who are celebrating. That means you agree with that. I thought we fought for this in this country, freedom of speech, the right to be able to have an opinion. What happened to being able to agree to disagree? I like blue. You like green. Really? I just think a lot of people really need to check themselves and just think about that for a minute. Imagine if that was your brother, your father, your son. I'm like, man, there's no word to even express how when I saw that. And I can't believe today's world that you can, they have this all over the internet. And people are sharing it, and they're sharing it for no other reason other than to get views and comments. How sick is this shit? I mean, how sick is this? When you have people who are sharing this for no other reason other than to say, oh, I got views. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you kidding me? All you can do is shake your head, man, and just, hug your kids and your loved ones, let them know you love them and you care about them, because it's a pretty fucked up world out there we live in today. That's just my take on it,
I agree. I agree with all of that, and it's important to voice whatever it is that you've got inside that you want to voice, and it's important to have discourse, and it's important to understand that freedom of speech means that you have the right to say what you want, just like I do, but that's where it ends. Just because we disagree doesn't mean that we have to have any kind of altercation. Luckily for us, we live in a place where we get to do that. And I think sometimes because of that, we forget that that is, a blessing and not necessarily just a right. Because most of the time people aren't exposed to anything different anywhere else in the world where people don't have that right. It's definitely sad. It's definitely made all of us reflect on how precious life is, and in an instant it could be taken.
Yeah, I say every day, the first blessing of the day is I wake up, and I thank God for that. And, I see my two beautiful daughters and my wife, and we're together. For me, that's a blessing. It's just terrible to see what happened. It's just terrible to see. I saw these videos. I really couldn't believe it. That people were celebrating just because you disagree with someone's opinion. Hell, I've had people who I'm friends with where we disagree, but we didn't start a fight. We may get loud about it, but we hug each other and go, man, whatever. It is what it is. What happened to that?
What happened to that, indeed. And just like that, guys, Unfiltered is truly unfiltered. No topic is off the table. And until next time, everybody, we will be back with Paul Dillett and more 90s bodybuilding.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for everyone.